Welcome to Journey Through the Innerverse. I am really excited about our conversation tonight because we have a fellow Dreamigos dream expert here with us today, Pam Muller. Welcome into Journey Through the Innerverse.
Yay, thank you. I'm glad to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm settled and ready to do a deep dive into whatever.
Nice. Yes, that organic flow. Live conversation about dreams is it's always the best because it starts in one place and it can easily go into all these different avenues and realms of dreams. So I'm really excited. How are you doing tonight, Alexis?
I'm doing good. I had a really delicious, nutritious dinner that I made myself
Oh wow.
beforehand. So
Right.
I'm full and happy and sipping on some tea and about to enjoy a really nice conversation.
Awesome. So I just want to speak to the energy, like the astrology at this moment. Mercury will soon be retrograde. I don't think it's retrograde already. At least when I checked, like probably like 2 hours ago, it was still like in that, it's still in that direct orientation. Um, but Mercury will be retrograde in Pisces. And what that essentially means is it's going to be really impactful specifically for the dream space because Pisces is the archetype that like really corresponds to being in between realms, to being able to shape shift and to like it is the sign of like astral travel, astral projection, dreams, spirituality. And so you really can't make it up that we're having this conversation about the spirituality of dreams tonight as Mercury is in the place of Pisces. And with that retrograde, like, yes, there's a stereotypical, oh, technology gets funky or communication gets weird and all of that. But in reference to dreams, it's really powerful because this is a time where we are guided to really direct ourselves and like going internal or going inward is the word I'm looking for. So going inward, really, especially in the case of Mercury, when we think about the mind, it is tuning into the subconscious, to the intuition. And so I tend to really lean into Mercury retrograde for like dream work as well. And so with it in Pisces, it's just really emphasizing that connection and communication through with intuition in your subconscious mind. So that's the energy we're in. So really pay attention to your dreams, especially since we're in the midst of eclipse season. So at this moment, we're in between eclipses, which is a really potent time again for that subconscious intuitive experience and also like vivid dreams and just a very active dream space in general. So with that said, did you want to share anything, Alexis or Pam, just about what you're experiencing, how your dream space has been over the past, say, like week or so?
My dreams have been pretty steadily coming in, which is not normal for me. I am generally a pretty typical dreamer. I can remember two or three a week sometimes. Like I'm not one of the vivid, every night dreamers, but lately I have had at least a story to recall just about every night for the last 4 or 5 nights in a row. So that tracks with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. What about you, Alexis?
Leading up to, I've definitely had some really interesting, otherworldly type dreams for sure. I think I had mentioned last week on our Dark Moon Dream Reflections episode, I had a dream where I had a being visit my dream, and it was masking as my husband, but I knew it wasn't my husband. And as the dream went by, it broke away, its facade broke away of my husband, and I could see this like kind of blurry being, and it had taken me to another location. And that Wednesday night into Thursday after the chat, I had a similar dream. But I could tell this time that that being was trying harder to mask itself. It was a very interesting dream, very, very interesting. And then so I can definitely feel that like otherworldly,
Mhm.
unseen like connection with the ether showing up in my dream space for sure.
Yeah. I have been able to, similar to you, Pam, I've been able to like remember more of my dreams. I have been, prior to, I would say the last week or so, I have been kind of in a slump with my dreams. Like, I mean, I would have the dreams, I would remember them, but they would slip away really easily. And I like fell out of my routine. And I mean, this was going on for months, but I fell out of my routine of regularly recording them. And I still haven't really got back into the routine of recording them, but I've been able to hold on to them longer. And if I had chose to, I've definitely shared with like Alexis and a few other friends my dreams later. So I know I've been holding on to them longer. And there have been maybe two or three that I've recorded. And recently I had a dream, speaking of like the otherworldly nature and just the different like realms and energies coalescing. I had another dream where I have a dream basically or recurring dream figures of dogs, like a pack of dogs.
Mhm.
And the dream over time evolved, at least like the symbolism, like what they represented for me. But now at this point, they're essentially spirit guides. And it's more of like, Pam, I'm really out there. Like I was saying, I'm Aquarius sun, which is like, that's the freak flag sign. I have spirit guides who are extraterrestrials. Like that's how I connect with them. And over time, I learned that these packs of dogs are actually, well, actually, who actually knows, but they are Syrian beings. So they're beings that are connected to Sirius, which is known as like, or is part of the dog's Canis Minor constellation, and Sirius is the dog star. And so, over a manner of exploration, synchronicities, and so forth, I realized that these dogs are a representation of that. So, anyway, so whenever they come in my dream now, it's like a direct connection with them, and I really pay attention to the guidance. And so I was really excited that they visited me a couple nights ago, and the guidance and the message was just so aligned for the work that I'm doing. So the dreams have been so on point, and I'm really excited, Pam, to hear your perspective, your experience with the spirituality of dreams, and how you got into dreamwork. So we're definitely going to share about that. But we do have two announcements to share before we get into like the meat of the conversation. And so, Alexis, do you want to share about Dream Egos?
Absolutely. So, if you don't already know, Urania and I and Pam are dream experts on a developing dream app called Dreamigos. That's DreamIgos. You can find this app on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You can get it for free, or you can join the premium membership for $4.99 a month. What it is essentially is a dream recording app where you have a multitude of ways to record your dreams and keep them private, or you have the opportunity to put them on the Dream Line, which is a public dream line where dream experts like the three of us can comment on your dreams. Another aspect of this is you get access to two free dream circles every month. One is a more, I would say, educational based dream circle where we have one or multiple of the dream experts in the app host it and teach you a little bit about what they know and go about dream work. But the other one is a sofa chat, which is a more casual type of dream circle where you can come and share your dreams and just have a conversation around dreams. It's a wonderful app. I mean, it is fantastic. All of the dream experts are wonderful, and you really get a lot out of it just with the free option, honestly. But if you get the premium $4.99 a month, you get access to guidebooks written by Urania and I, and you guys want to include what else is
Yeah,
new?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, for sure. The part of the thing I love about Dream Egos too is the sort of a community aspect of it, right? So you get this team of experts, and also all of us have kind of thrown in our own offerings for the premium users as well. So it's kind of a growing library of offerings and resources that you can get if you're a premium member.
And Pam, you facilitate one of the like study groups, right?
It's like live office hours. So it's like
Yeah.
once a month, I'm just live for an hour for any of the premium users that want to hop in and ask questions or have a chat or
For
check
five
in.
dollars a month. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It really is incredible. Join us today.
Yeah.
There you go. Well done.
Yeah, the link is going to be in the description of this video as always, or if you're listening to the recording on Spotify, it's in the episode notes. The next announcement is that on March 15th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be teaching a dream class via Ritual Craft School called The Sacred Art of Dream Divination. And essentially, this is my class is basically about dream incubation. So I walk you through what that means. I walk you through astrological timing. And my favorite part, what's been really helpful for me is asking the quote unquote right questions. So, how to ask the right questions to get that wisdom or the guidance, like getting a very clear, direct message from your dreaming self, and how to set those intentions and so forth. So, if you are curious about dream divination, aka dream incubation, check out the link in the description of this video or in the show notes, and you'll get more info, and you can sign up if you want to join. Awesome. Okay, for those of you who are here live, feel free to say hi in the chat. Feel free to share your questions, your comments, your experiences with our topic or with dreams in general. We would love to hear what you have to say as well. But yeah, I want to hear from Pam. Pam, Alexis and I both would love to hear like how you got into dream work and how your dream space has been, maybe since you were a child. Were you into dreams when you were a child, or was it something that you came across as you got older? Like, what's your story in reference to dream? I
Yeah.
want to know. So.
Yeah. Thanks for that. No, I wasn't always into dreams. I was not necessarily connected to them even into early adulthood. But once my eyes were open to dreams, then I was like, oh, I don't know why we're not telling everyone about this all the time. Like, I wish I had known about it earlier. I do have a memory of like I can think back to like what's the earliest dream I've ever had. And so I do know that I was dreaming as a kid, but I wasn't turned on to dreams until later in life. So yeah, so my journey, I've always been particularly spiritual, but I was raised Catholic, and so the Catholicism kind of allows for a little bit more of the mystic levels of spirituality than some of the other religions. And so my grandmother was a devout Catholic, and I remember, and this is important because it later connects to the dream space for me. I remember being in her kitchen when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And one of her friends had been on a pilgrimage to Medjugorje, which is where the Blessed Mother was appearing to this group of children. And she was appearing on a daily basis. And so people, in fact, I think she's still appearing. The children have now grown up. But anyway, I was 7 or 8. I was sitting in the kitchen listening to her tell the story of her friend who had just gotten back from this sacred pilgrimage where the Virgin Mary was an apparition, in this holy space. And her friend had taken photos. And in one of the photos, when it got developed, you could see this ghostly outline of where she was supposed to have appeared in this photograph. And my grandmother had it in her hand and had the newspaper article because it had made the newspaper. And so I remember her like passing it around. I remember holding the photograph in my hand and thinking, like, well, I'm a 7 or 8, at whatever age I was at the time, and she appeared to them. And so I just always felt deeply connected to the mystical side of things. It always called to me, but I was raised in a very like not non woo-woo household, and I was very, very good. I've always been very good at people pleasing and understanding what expectations are for me. So I followed a traditional path. I went to college. I got a degree in early childhood education because I thought it was going to be easy. I was like, teaching sounds like it's not going to be too challenging. I was very wrong. Um, I met my now husband and got out of college, got a job teaching, and was a few years into teaching third and fourth grade at a local elementary school. And we got married and we started to try to start our family. And it wasn't working. More time passes, it wasn't working. More time passes, it's not working. And that paired with the fact that he's supposed to be in created this perfect storm of life crisis that was my dark night of the soul. So in about 2003, 4, and 5, I realized I wasn't in the career path I was supposed to be in, and I needed a change, but I didn't know anything about what I wanted to do next. And I was in the throes of what would be a 5-year journey through infertility to have our son, who's 16 now and a wonderful mess. But the culmination of those two things, along with being a people pleaser my whole life, kind of made me all of a sudden drop into a deep spiritual identity crisis. I
Mhm.
don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to be if not a mother. I don't know if any of this is going to work out. And so I went into this spiritual crisis, and everything that I thought I believed was no longer working for me. And so I just lost all faith in anything, and I didn't know where to turn. So, in the midst of that dark, dark place that I was in, I was having a really hard time talking about any of those issues with anybody because I wasn't prepared for those issues and nobody wanted to bring it up. And we were all tiptoeing around poor Pammy, and we hope she's doing okay. And dreams emerged
Mm,
as this really bizarre thing that I could pretend made sense.
mm.
So I started to pretend. I was like, what if a Black Panther means something in a dream? And I would play with the imagery. And my sister, who is my like dream cohort now, she and I would get in. We could talk about stuff. It was lighthearted. We weren't even diving into our deeper issues. And suddenly I had this thing that was really fascinating. And the teachers, I was still teaching at the time, found out that I wanted to hear dreams. And guess what? I became the most popular person after school because they would come by and be like, oh my God, I got to go find Pam. I had a dream. So it didn't even start for me as this deep calling. It started as a thing that I could pretend made sense because my life at the time, nothing was making sense at the time. And so I was playing with it. And then it would be like, huh, that's weird. That actually did make sense. Bizarre. And then it would happen again. And then it would happen again. And so I quickly recognized that, like, oh, there's something to this deep psychological symbols that emerge at night. And holy, what if that's true? What if dreams really do have wisdom? So the awakening that I had was not only that that was really exciting for me and that I could kind of find my way through my issues by way of my dreams, but also you guys will recognize this. This thing started happening where not only did people come in and they were finally comfortable talking to me about something, but they would drop their persona because we talk about dreams. And when you start to talk about dreams, people just lean in, they go like this.
Yeah.
I have a dream for you. Everybody would drop their persona. And so I just very quickly was like, this is what I want. I want to be in real space with people in their real truth. And I want to just sit in that with them.
Mm,
So I kind of came through my own issues because dreams were teaching me at the time, right? Of like, maybe deal with this little piece of your life that's a mess right now, or here's a symbol that you can use to talk about a problem that's too hard to talk about. Like I can't talk about infertility because it'll make me break down into tears at the time, but I can talk about this deep pool of water in the middle of the woods that has seahorses
mm,
in it.
mm.
And aren't those seahorses so beautiful? And how do I describe seahorses? Well, they're really delicate, they're really fragile, they're really valuable. And so that ended up being the embryo conversation. In
Wow.
fact, the snow, the woods were covered with snow, a blanket of snow. And it was the first time that I was able to put words around the fact that I might be wanting to try infertility treatment, right? So the clinic, which is all white, and sterile was the snow. So it gave me some way to enter into a conversation that was too hard to have at the time, and it saved me. And I know I'm going to fast forward, but to get to the spiritual component a little bit, what I learned was that my dreams are always ready to give me an image, which means that they are always with me. They are always on my side, and they don't judge because dreams don't have a filter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the definition of the divine. If you go to all the wisdom traditions and you read the books about the divine, it is this abiding presence that is full of adoration and non-judgment and always ready. It's the yes and. There's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no any, it's like, I've made this choice. Yes, and here is the next thing. Anyway, so I just never let, I was like, I found the thing. And then I had to find how do I do this professionally from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that is an incredible story. And I love how it just naturally found you. And that feels like such like divine, that in itself is divine guidance. And the way you were very playful with it and just like exploring it is
Mhm.
really like there, it seemed like it was just fun. There were no like expectations, I feel like initially, and it was just exploration, curiosity, playtime, and almost like an escape, but it was like done in the quote unquote right way in a sense, because it's like, oh, well, what does this mean? And what does that mean?
Mhm.
Um, I do have a question. When you were like exploring your dreams, like in that playful way, when it came to you, when you were looking at the meaning, when you were considering the meanings, were you going to books or was it just like from your own intuition and imagination? Like, how
No,
did you,
yeah, no, I was going to books.
okay.
I was Googling, going to the dream dictionaries, and even now when people ask, because that's one of the questions, like, what's your favorite dream dictionary? Or there's this sort of voice of like some people who do dream work are like, you shouldn't use a dream dictionary because they're, just whatever.
Bias, basically.
But my thing has always been I don't have a favorite because they serve as the brainstorming process. They
Yeah.
allow me to feel for that inner resonance of what strikes me as true. And
Hmm.
so the more I can use all the resources, the more I can actually listen to my own body response to those things
Hmm.
and find my way that way. So I was using the dictionaries, and then somebody finally introduced me to Carl Jung and gave me the memories, dreams, and reflections. And I by
Oh,
that time, I was like, this guy gets it. See, like, like I didn't come at it from, oh, he's gonna teach me, but I was like, oh, see, he knows the things that I figured out now. Like he
yeah.
gets it. So which I think was so like naive and arrogant to be like, I'm on par with Carl Jung. But that's the level of familiarity and comfort that I have with that language, the language of the dreaming mind. I'm like, let me in. I want to play in that space, you know.
It's so funny because I don't think that's an ignorant place to come at it at all, especially
Mm.
because Carl Jung's teachings are a collection of, you know, teachings and understandings of the subconscious that have been in other cultures for so
Yes.
long. He just kind of brought it to one place per se. And we've Urania and I have did a podcast on Carl Jung, and like we would watch interviews of him going and meeting with indigenous peoples of America and talking about their experiences and whatnot. So I don't particularly find that your approach to seeing someone else who is on the same line of thought with you on dreams is arrogant. I actually think it's more authentic.
Hmm.
I and back to the authenticity too, there's a lack of filter in the subconscious. And the fact that one of the first things you noticed when you were talking to other people about their dreams was that lack of filter and that authenticity from the subconscious coming forward and them dropping their masks. I love that so much because at the end of the day, what's going on when you're sleeping, you have no control over. What you have popping up in your head, to an extent, you have no control over. And when people are talking about it, there's nothing to do but tell you exactly what happened, because they're in perplexity and not understanding of why it's coming through. They want answers. So they're not going to try to make it something that it's not. They're going to be truthful about it. And I love that that authenticity was really coming through and sparking your inspiration to create this path for you forward.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. No, it's true. I mean, um, the the crux of it is really I recognize that my gift is creating safe space for people,
Mhm.
because we would get into that conversation and uncover something, right? Going through the dream dictionaries, or, over time I learned my own skill set and kind of could work through dreams independent, and dream dictionaries aren't necessary as much anymore. Um, but going through that with them and having them recognize something and then holding space for that and
Mhm.
practicing being with somebody when they discover some part of themselves that they didn't know, that's where I was like, oh, there's more to this than just, this isn't just a party trick, of dream interpretation party trick. This has got some depth and vulnerability, and
Mhm.
holding space and having safe space for people is really important. And oh, by the way, I'm really naturally gifted in that way. So I went and found spiritual direction. There's a school called the Hayden Institute in North Carolina that is founded in Christian mysticism and
Mhm.
Jungian thought and dream work. And so when I went and did this 2-year training, I was already well versed in the dream space and comfortable in the dream world. And then what I honed in that 2 years was how to hold space and sort of keep my own stuff to myself and let the dreamer fully unpack, and then what, not only what it is for them, but where that leads them next. Like what is this dream telling me, but then also what do I want to do with that going forward? So
Mm.
that's where like the spiritual direction for me came in, of how to hold respectful space for somebody and take their dream seriously, and then let them see how that weaves into the way they want to show up in the world.
I love
Wow.
that so much. I really love that because find that one of the most important aspects of working with someone with their dreams is allowing them to recognize that they're the only ones really who can come to the conclusion of what those dreams mean for them. Like, I can't tell you what that means. I can only guide you and move you through different directions to help you get to that path, to get to those answers. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you holding space like that. It's just, there's a lot of respect I feel in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
people, and they probably do this, with you guys as well. But when people tell a dream and they kind of get to the meaning, sometimes they then follow that up with, okay, and it sounds just like this in session. It's like, okay, also, I've never told anybody this, but,
Mhm.
and then what they share next
Mhm.
is some mystical thing,
Yeah.
some encounter that may have happened inside of a dream, but also may have happened outside of a dream.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I've never had anywhere to unpack this thing that happened to me that is either not allowed in polite society, or that we don't have any resources for, or isn't a part of the cultural experience for me growing up, and they need that container where they can unpack it and find the meaning for themselves in that as well. So the dream space led me to, oh, this is an abiding presence. Oh, everybody has it. Also, it's the same language that signs and symbols show up in the waking world. And it's
Yeah.
the language of intuition, and it's the language and all the wisdom traditions. Like it was just, it's like, how can we not teach everyone this all the time?
Yeah.
This is like, I love this conversation because it's like, it's literally hitting on so many like experiences and just even my own study and practice of like metaphysics and the nature of existence and like the like nature of consciousness and what is that, and like what you're sharing, especially when I'm thinking about how you got into dream work and it's so natural. It was like it's literally remembrance. So all of this is remembrance in the sense of like when you're having these dreams, it's like you're gaining access to these memories, but these memories, like if everything's kind of happening at the same time, then it's like you're tuning into like that intelligence or that quote unquote memory of the past or the future and so forth. But it's all working together that it's informing the present and how things are unfolding. And so that dark night of the soul put you in a space and time where like in that darkness you are kind of in the void and like in all places at once, and you are able to access that memory of like just this natural gift of connecting to the subconscious, like making a connection with your intuition, and it's coming through dreams and symbolism and imagery because that's the thing you connected to the most initially and got so curious about. And so to me, when you mention again coming back to the Carl Jung, and it's like, oh yeah, he gets it too, like we're on the same level, it makes sense because you're remembering who you truly are and your natural gift, and you're helping others do the same, like as they unpack what's coming through their dreams and their subconscious. And so also I love synchronicities because before we went live, we were having a conversation before Pam even joined us. Alexis and I were trying to remember her zodiac sign, and we're just like, she's so grounded, she's calm, like she's very structured and organized. And that is your natural gift. Like, regardless of what the sign is, like we felt that ability to hold space and be very grounded. And when you're on a journey of remembrance, whether it's, you know, through dream work or some other spiritual practice, or even just in therapy, you need that safe container and that security for your nervous system to really feel safe so that you can uncover whatever's coming up, because it was, say, repressed for a reason or it was contained for a reason. And once you're in that safe space and you have someone there to guide you and support you, then you're able to gain access to that because you feel safe enough and you can really tune into the quiet like voices, that intuition, or maybe the aspect of you that felt scared to speak up or share their story, right? So I just, all of this is touching on what I've been diving deep into, and I just, yeah, I'm so excited that you're sharing this with us. So I'm curious, when you think about, when you say spirituality of dreams or just the spiritual connection of dreams, I know you've touched on this before, like with that divine energy. Um, is there, can you go deeper with that? Like, or is that like basically what you mean? Like, do you want to expand more on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think here's where I want to go with this because this was occurring to me, I think, too, while you were speaking. I was like, yeah, I was so conditioned and good at being the good girl and following what people generally expected of me to do. That when I learned that teaching wasn't going to be the thing I was supposed to be doing, I was like, well, what do I want to do? My response was like, I don't really care. I had no motivation or drive to do anything else, so I didn't know how to make my own decisions. I didn't know who I was, like very on the deepest level, did not know who I was. I knew what other people would have wanted for me, and I could try those things, right? But what dreams gave me, it took me a long time to figure this out. And now I just say Pam words. They gave me Pam words to use because they came through me and they're not for anybody else. So by learning to work with my dreams, like the lion, because the lion is my recurring symbol, the lion that I dream about is not the one you're going to imagine if I say I dreamt of a lion. You have your own lion. You have your Urania lion, and I have my Pam lion. And so it gave me my ownership back of the inner realm, and that taught me how to show up in the outer realm as myself. And before that, all the language of like, you do you, or be your own person, or you are unique, that word you didn't have any anchor for me, but my name does. And so I don't even remember the question that you were asking, but for me, the spirituality is giving people that weight back
Mm-hmm.
of their anchoring to their own stuff. And dreams give us a very easy way to start that process. It's not the only way. It's not the only
Right.
spiritual practice, right? There's a million ways to get there, but dreams are free for everyone, easy, like, and I have all these tools available. So I can help people get to the dream space, and then I can ask the questions that elicit the words, right? So like even one of the questions I ask sometimes, and you guys use this as well, I know, is like, how would you change the dream if you could change it in any way, right? That's such an empowering question because the way I would change it is never what they say. What
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm always wrong when I think I'm like, oh, obviously this is how you would change the dream. They're like, no, and they come up with something totally different. So it gives them ownership over their own ideas and it gives them their own language that always deeply resonates.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more
Yeah.
thing. There's one more thing I want to say is that dreams are experiential, and this is the heart of it. Here we are. Hello. Oh God. Okay.
You got it.
This is when I was in my spiritual direction training, this made me so mad. I actually had a a visceral encounter with the divine, like an experience on a cellular level. It doesn't matter what it was, but I had this experience of meeting the divine face to face. And I recognized that in all of the wisdom traditions, that's the story. So anybody who is practicing a faith,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say this right, says that that's what it is, but they don't know that that's what it is because not many people have had a genuine experiential encounter with the divine. We're taught to talk about it. We aren't always taught to live into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Dreams are again a very easy abiding presence, and it's a way to get access to the lived experience of memory, a cellular encounter, because dreams are experiential in nature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of that made sense,
It,
but that's the core of it for me.
it made absolute sense. And, I really want to bring it back real quick to that experience of not really feeling like you was an anchor. Like I can understand there was a time in my life where like I was experiencing things, but I had no idea what to do, what choices to make, what direction to go. And I felt such a disconnect from myself that it was like my ethereal being was hung by a string and like I was carrying it with me and there was no connection and I just didn't know what to do. And I think that's something that's really important to bring up because I feel like so many people in society really have that disconnect from themselves. And it makes sense with the way we've been brought up and the way we've been trained per se and how we've been moving through life. It hasn't really been focus on yourself. It's been very, you need to do these things and pick yourself up by the bootstraps and move on with your life and whatever it may be. There hasn't been this time for grace and patience and reflection on the self that hasn't really been taught to us. I mean, just thinking about the psychological mental health help that we're at right now and how it's still so limited and so like not as shamed as before, but there's still people who will not do anything about it. And because of those previous thoughts and feelings, and bringing people to a place where they understand just how unique they are and just how much they hold and the entire universe in their own like sphere around them and what they can tap into and who they can be. That's something that's so important because I think that there's so many people who are on the edge of despair in not knowing what to do or where to go, and aspects like this of creating a safe space and allowing people to talk about these things that they really don't think are that important until you start guiding them through talking about it. It's vitally important societally for all of us to
Mm-hmm.
understand and grow from. I really feel like that's where we're going to start kind of coming together more is when we start focusing in on our own selves and what we're capable of, and also moving through the shadow of ourselves and accepting things for what they are and moving through it. It's just that that uniqueness of individuality people just don't know how to grasp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really that was like the biggest thing for me was like coming to the dreams, to dream work. I had been tiptoeing around my dreams, like going really deep into dream work. I had been like my spiritual practice has been going on like for like 20 years, initially experiential, then it became like a very studied practice into like a profession. Um, but through that whole period, and I've told this story many times, I was walking the edges of my dream space because my grandmother at the basically the initiation of my spiritual awakening was the passing of my grandmother when I was 19, and she was my mother. She was mom for me. And the way she transitioned was sudden for me, and it was a whole thing. But she would always come to me in my dreams. And that was a nightmare because I wasn't ready to have like to deal with that grief. And later, like 20 years later almost, I found out that she like I knew she was getting her PhD when she right before she transitioned in clinical astrology, clinical psychology. But I didn't know that she was also into dream work and will record her dreams and so forth. And it was all a part of her journals, which are all will to me. So at some point I will be able to, once I'm in that part of the healing process, to read those. But nonetheless, like that was my fear of going deep into dreams in my subconscious. But it got to a point, and this was not too long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, like I felt like I've done everything in spiritual practice, not everything, but I've done the energy work. Like, you know how you can just, there's something there that you just like, I just still felt this block. And I knew I was like, damn it, I'm gonna have to go to my dreams. And I had already began the healing process with my, like, as far as my grandmother prior to that. So I naturally was kind of guided into connecting with my subconscious and really, seeing what was there for me and just really doing that healing work. And my grandmother's actually a dream guide for me now. Like when she shows up in my dreams, she's a guide and I'm not afraid and I welcome her. But I do understand how dreams can be incredibly sensitive, right? For people, how it can be a scary thing because it's like the symbology, the imagery, the emotions. If you don't really understand how to work with that and you come into it taking it literally, it can really like put you in a dark place, right? It can really be kind of scary. And so I always say, I'm like, you want to do shadow work because that's a whole big thing in the spiritual community, shadow work and all this
Yeah.
stuff. The dream work, literally, that's the shadow work because you're facing the darkest parts of you, like the hidden parts, but also like the scary things and like also your hidden gifts, your untapped potential. Like all of that's there, but there's a lot that you are remembering and that you're learning, that you're uncovering. And so it's a journey and it is work. I mean, literally it's work, but it's a beautiful gift. And so I think with that, coming back to that safe space, having that safe space, that community, which I feel like, this is why all of us, I'm sure, have gravitated to Dreamigos, because it's like we know how important that community is for dream work, right? For dreams and just holding a safe space to explore that.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that beautiful, heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching story. I'm sorry for the journey that you've had to go on, but I so appreciate it. One of the things that um, I had a dream circle one time years back where this woman showed up, and it was one of these, come on and we'll study it. And I didn't know who was going to show up. She showed up and she said, "My son died
Mm.
5 years ago, and I haven't had a dream about him." And I want to see him. And so she was
Oh.
there hoping that I could help her have a dream about her son.
Mhm.
And which is the gravity of dream work, right? It can be this really fun, shallow place, that trickster energy, right? But deeply personal. But then also it has this weight to it. We fear it, we respect it, but also, and what I ended up, it was okay. It was an okay evening, but I've thought about her a lot since then. And one of the things I've realized is that it's because we can't control them that we can trust them.
Mhm.
If I could control my dreams, my dad would be in it every night and I would shape them. And there's lucid dreaming. So I have there's a lucid dreaming is a little bit different. But I think if we could demand from our dreams that they show us what we want to see, then we wouldn't trust them as much because it's the waking mind, it's the ego mind that is
Mhm.
asking for what it wants, what it thinks it needs, you know. Um, and so the fact that dreams happen in the same space that prayer and meditation happens in the imaginal realm is
Mhm.
why it's so critical for me to say, like, I work at that intersection of dreams and spirituality because the way we manage nightmares, the way we address the fear is by cultivating the prayer and the meditation, right? So whenever I'm working with a dreamer or a spiritual directee, to me they're one and the same because it's all the same language, but people come for different preferences. Um, that's what we do is we talk about like what in that space for you in the imaginal realm is safe. Who do you call on in that space? Because it's just you in there and your dreams and your source. So, what does it look like? What are your experiences from life that have cultivated in the imaginal realm for you a presence? And call that presence in when you're sitting with the dream space or when we call a nightmare. So, I have um, figured out that that's my home. That's where I live, is in talking with
Yeah.
people about where their spirituality intersects or where it can intersect with the dream stuff.
Uh, I feel that passion coming from you and that energy. Like it's so grounded and it's so like inspiring and high vibrational.
Mm.
And again, it just really like brings me back to, like I said, prior to our live conversation, just like talking about your energy. And what I love the most is that it's an embodiment for you. Like this is you. This is your life. This is again you remembering and you like becoming more of like who you truly are innately in any lifetime, in every lifetime. And I feel like that's something that I feel personally and in spiritual practice is so important is that embodiment because we can intellectualize, we can be in the conscious mind, we can try to control all the things, but to really walk the walk, especially in a spiritual community, not to just like, share and spout wisdom, but you are a living embodiment, a showcase of like your insights, your experience, your like overcoming the shadows and what you share with others is what you do for yourself. Like that is powerful. And you don't really honestly see that a lot. You know what I mean?
No.
And so I'm just really happy that you are here, Pam, sharing this because it's like and have this opportunity, even though we work in the same community, we haven't really had an opportunity to have these deep conversations. And this
Mm.
is this is why Alexis and I really started this podcast. We were like, we just want to talk about dreams, mysticism, all the things, and we want to have that safe space and to share, other people's experiences with dreams or their spiritual practice or their connection to mysticism and how that's beneficial for their own their life and maybe someone can take something from that. I've been taking notes here and so yeah, I think it's beautiful to share and show up in your truth and your passion.
Oof.
Yeah, your authenticity shines through.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you are absolutely yourself, and that's what makes people feel safe. You know,
Yeah.
you're not trying to put on a facade. You're not trying to mask who you are in a world where everybody's trying to mask everything. You know, you're entirely yourself, and that's what's safe about you is we can feel that empathy and compassion and love and care and it for yourself too, which is important.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank
Of course.
you. I did not start out on this path knowing where I was going to end up, but at some point I just was like, this is all I want to do. This is
Yeah.
all I want to do all the time. And everything else is going to just be helping me get back to this intimate space with people. I knew when I was teaching, I knew that Emotionally, I just wanted to sit with the kids and cultivate them emotionally, right? Which
Yeah.
isn't good for a teacher. There were
Yeah.
other responsibilities I had that I was not really paying attention to.
But
But
that's so
then
needed too.
it
Like that.
is, it is. No, for sure it is. But then when I found the dream, I'm like, oh, hello,
Yeah.
children. Come sit, let's cultivate, that
Right.
space. Thank you both so much just for seeing that in me. That is very validating and lovely to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to say Andrea put a purple heart in the chat earlier. I don't know, Andrea, if you're still here, but thanks for being here. Andrea is also a part of the Dream Egos community, a fellow dream expert. And I just, yeah, I love the community that we're creating around this. Yeah, so do you have any last things that you want to share that we didn't touch on yet? Alexis, also, if you want to share anything in reference to what was discussed or, yeah, I'm curious to hear.
Sometimes at the end of a session, I will just say, what else feels like it needs to be said here?
Yeah.
What else?
So this has been bopping around my head the entire conversation. So in the beginning of the conversation, you said, I do remember the first dream that I had as a child. And that
Yeah.
if you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear your first memory of your dream.
It is not some big profound thing, which is funny. That's why I'm like so about the practical tools. I'm like, it doesn't have to be the big dreams. It can be this time. Here's what I remember. I was in a car in the back seat, and we were driving down this road, and there was this monster who was chasing after the car, and I can see like his arms were like elongated and his legs were
Mm.
elongated, and he had like his legs were like cylinders, and he had like ribbed layers around the legs, and I can just see that he could just about touch the back tire of the car. That was it. It was a very
Oh,
scary dream, but I
Wow.
just that's the image, is this kind of long-legged, long-armed monster almost catching up with the back tire of a car that we were in.
Wow. And how old were you when you had the dream?
I'm saying four.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it
Yeah.
was the very first dream I think that I
Yeah.
ever had.
I wonder if that stuck with you because it was scary. Like, would you say that was probably your first like scary, memorable dream?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I've definitely um come across like just in dream research, a
Mhm.
lot of children will remember, or when they get older, they remember the scary dreams from when they were a child.
And
I
children have a lot more nightmares. I don't remember dreams from that's the only one I remember. I don't remember any other dreams from my
Yeah.
childhood. Yeah.
I love the monster aspect because my first memory of a dream involved monsters too, and I've actually heard a lot of people talk about their first dream memories being like having monsters in them, and I kind of just love that that's kind of a collective like childhood fear coming out, and what those monsters could have represented in our lives at that time. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I find that so intriguing and so interesting, and also the fact that you were in a car. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
you said it's not that big thing, but it
Yeah.
also could be like it. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I love to see where people start, like with that first experience and how it shapes your life forward.
Yeah, for me that dream, and then the experience with my grandmother with this picture, which wasn't a dream but has a dreamlike quality for me, are the
Hmm.
things are those are my anchors.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fun.
Mm.
Awesome. Well, I feel complete. I don't know if anything else wants to come through. What do you all think?
I would like to say that that I have a community, and I it's called Pam's Place, and you can find it through my website, which is sweetgeorgiapam.com. I and in this community, it's where I do my like everyday, like if I want to connect with my people, like, hey, here's a fun thing, or here's dream stuff, or here's whatever. But I've also started creating in there a bi-monthly anchoring, like a 1 hour, I call it field
Mm.
notes gathering, And the idea is that I am sitting in for an hour, anchoring to what really matters at the deepest level. And then in between that meeting in the next 2 weeks, I'm a pilgrim out in the world gathering notes for my next gathering.
I
And so
love
what I would love is to cultivate a community of people that kind of show up every 2 weeks just to check in on all the levels, including the deep symbolism. And like, then we go out into the world and we carry our spirituality with us, take our notes, and then we come back. So I'm developing that rhythm. And the next one is tomorrow night, which I know this is going to be shared later, but I just wanted to mention it
Well,
in
it's live now. So whoever's
want to
watching,
join. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In
maybe
case
you can
people
check
want
it
to
out
join.
tomorrow. Yeah, the link to your website is in the description of this video and of course in the show notes. So we already have that link ready to go. So definitely check out Pam's website. Also, I did not know that you had a book, a published book. I did go searching around your website
Yeah.
and I was like, wait, what?
We're
So it's
getting
called
it.
33 Ways to Work with Your Dreams, A Beginner's Guide to Dream Work by
Thanks.
Pamela Muller. And it's on Amazon. It's in my cart right now. I'm really excited. I had no idea when I came across it on your website. I was like, what? Pam didn't even say anything about this book. So
Yeah.
definitely check that out. Like that's going to be really helpful. And it's just amazing to have like dream books in your own personal library. Especially if you know them too, if you know the
I'm
author.
so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to
So
read your book. I
definitely check
really
that
am.
out. Yeah, I'm really excited
Thanks.
to explore that.
Thanks.
So yeah, so where else can, people find you? I know there's your website.
There is my website. I'm obviously all over Dreamigos in
Mhm.
the Dreamline, and then also in the Dream Circles as well. And I am active on social media. So I did have quite a thing going on TikTok, and I have since become inactive on TikTok, but I'm still all over Instagram
Yeah,
and Facebook
yeah.
as well. So Sweet Georgia Pam is my handle everywhere. So people can just search for me that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, Pam. Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
so much.
here. I'm sure we'll have you again.
I feel like
Um,
I could do this every night with you guys. Thank
I
you. It was a
know
lot of fun.
it just flowed so naturally as expected. Awesome. Alrighty, everyone. Well, please like the video if you enjoyed this chat and let us know your experiences, your comments, your questions in reference to what we shared here, spirituality of dreams. And yeah, subscribe to our channel also if you are enjoying our content. And we will be back next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to follow up to the second episode of our Tarot and Dream series, where we're going to talk about the magician and dreams. So that's going to be really exciting. But thanks again to Pam for being here, and sweet dreams, everyone.